Buddy cop movies have been a staple in Hollywood for decades. And while many movies were box office winners, some were box office boobs. So today we'll take a look at 3 movies that shit the bed trying to recreate that buddy cop magic and see which one did it best. The first movie we'll be looking at is 1989's Collision Course, starring Jay Leno and Pat Morita. Jay Leno stars as rough-around-the-edges Detroit cop Tony Costas, who, along with his smooth-around-the-edges chin, teams up with Japanese cop Fujitsuka Natsuo, played by the inimitable Pat Morita. The two cruise the streets of Detroit looking for a stolen car part prototype. Now tell me that's not exciting. Next up is the 1991 cult classic Samurai Cop. But don't let the name fool you. There are no samurais in this movie. Just a pair of charming cops. The film follows 2 Los Angeles cops, Joe Marshall and Frank Washington, as they take down the nefarious cocaine-dealing Katana Gang. Fun fact, Matthew Caritas, who plays Joe Marshall, cut off his long hair before unexpected reshoots, so he was wearing a wig for a good portion of the movie. Oh, stay on there, buddy. And finally, the prehistoric past and the sassy future come together in an animatronic fever dream called Theodore Rex. Yeah, a dinosaur and Whoopi Goldberg are cops who team up to take down an evil villain who wants to bring on the next ice age and destroy the world. Fun fact, this might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. But before we decide which one of these abominations is the least abominable, let's figure out what makes a buddy cop movie a good buddy cop movie. Buddy cop movies consist of many elements, but the 3 which I feel are most crucial are buddy chemistry. Now ideally, they aren't friends in the very beginning. They're total opposites. One is a by-the-book, regimented stickler, and the other is a loose cannon who marches to the beat of his own drunken drum. It's a classic odd couple style dynamic that, if done successfully, produces a lot of fun tension. And then it's more rewarding by the end of the movie when they're taking bullets for each other. An angry boss. This minor character is actually very important to the buddy cop equation. If the 2 buddies start out hating each other, then they need to have the angry boss to force them into a partnership that they don't want to be in. I'm looking for fists slamming on desks, I'm looking for lots of yelling, and if we're lucky, the boss should ask both cops or one of the cops for their badge and gun. Hot action. These are movies about cops taking down bad guys. I want to see guns shooting things, I want to see things blowing up, I want to see people jumping out of things blowing up. I don't want to see some desk jockey making cold calls to a fake Girl Scout troop for selling counterfeit Girl Scout cookies. Don't laugh, it happens. I mean, seriously, Tin Mints? They taste metallic too. All right, let's do this. Collision Course gets the buddy chemistry down pretty well. Tony Costas is an appropriately disheveled piece of shit, but has street smarts and does what he needs to do in order to get the bad guys. On the other hand, his Japanese counterpart, Fujitsuka, is his polar opposite, and the 2 have distinct ways of being a cop. Tony Costas will lie his way into a situation if it means that he can get the bad guy. Like when he lies to Fujitsuka about probable cause in entering a home.
How we get inside?
We break it.
We don't need warrant?
You don't need a warrant if you have probable cause.
Probable cause.
And appropriately enough, as the movie progresses, the 2 buddies do become closer. Fujitsuka puts aside his disciplined ways in favor of breaking some rules. However, even though individually they work pretty well as buddy cops, they're not really fun to watch on screen together. Neither Leno or Morita make the roles their own. I give Collision Course a 7 out of 10. Now, Samurai Cop veers from your typical buddy cop formula by having the 2 cops already working together by the time we meet them. So there aren't any moments in the beginning where the 2 buddies dislike one another and don't want to team up. There's no meet cute. There's no scene where Joe Marshall and Frank Washington protest having to work with each other. The movie does away with any possible tension between the 2 friends, because they're friends. Even in movies like Bad Boys, where the 2 cops are actually childhood friends, they should still get on each other's nerves.
Fuck you, and fuck them, and fuck everybody who got a problem with Mike Lowry. I love you, man. Fuck you, Marcus.
But man, the actors are having a really fun time. They are a lot of fun to watch on screen. They're cracking jokes with each other, they're smiling and laughing. Let's be real, the performances in Samurai Cop are not mind-blowing or good. It's evident that the actors realized they were in a low-budget train wreck of a movie and were just making the best of it. So for that, I give Samurai Cop a 6 out of 10. Now, Theodore Rex seems to do an okay job getting the partners together. When Coltrane and Teddy meet each other, Coltrane makes it apparent that she really doesn't want to work with a dinosaur.
He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur.
Other than that though, the two are just not enjoyable to watch on screen together. Whoopi especially. She slogs through this movie. She apparently made a verbal contract with the producers of this film to star in it, but tried to back out at the last minute, prompting the producers to file a lawsuit, forcing Whoopi to act in the movie. At least the actors in Samurai Cop made the best of a bad situation. That's why I give Theodore Rex a 2 for not making the best of a bad situation. Sorry. Collision Course's Lieutenant Ryerson is a great example of an angry boss. While he doesn't seem to instill much fear or respect in his Detroit precinct, he does have a handful of exchanges with disobedient Costas where he loses his shit.
Will you just shut up? Scully killed Ashima and shot Mac.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about. The movie also scores points for having a scene in which Ryerson asks Costas for his badge and gun.
Now let me have him.
However, in Collision Course, there are 2 angry bosses. The one in Detroit and the one in Japan, Pat Morita's boss, who routinely berates him over the phone. It's actually a little much. Fujitsuka is not a bad cop. He's a little clueless and silly at times, but the audience wants to see an angry boss chew out a disobedient employee. Not Fujitsuka. Come on. But it still feels right in line with the buddy cop formula. So I give Collision Course an 8 out of 10. Samurai Cop is another shining example of what an angry boss should be in a buddy cop movie.
God damn you guys. All you've done is cost me bloodshed and mayhem. Get out of here, you asshole. Leave me alone. I feel like somebody stuck a big club up my ass. And it hurts. I've got to figure out a way to get it out of there.
Not only does he basically yell at these 2 cops for no reason all the time, he actually kind of likes them.
Come back here, you motherfucker!
Seriously, this guy is awesome. And for that, I give Samurai Cop an 8 out of 10. Theodore Rex features a very poor example of what an angry boss should be in a buddy cop film. Richard Roundtree plays Commissioner Lynch, and he flip-flops from being a good-hearted simpleton
What?
to a selfish boss
Look, we cut a deal. You wanted this case, and I wanted a boost in my polls.
to finally awarding Teddy and Coltrane for their hard work at the end of the movie. His personality turns into whatever the scene demands it to be. The movie gives Commissioner Lynch one scene of being angry, but he doesn't really do anything.
Teddy! Coltrane!
And the scene where he forces Teddy and Coltrane to be partners is more about Coltrane's insistence she works without Teddy than it is about him insisting she does.
Teddy Rex, meet Katie Coltrane.
Hi.
Give me results by prime time tomorrow, and I'll double your regular commissions.
He just kind of says it's going to happen and walks away, while Whoopi says,
He's a dinosaur.
yeah, we get it, Whoopi. So I give Theodore Rex a 2 for a weak, confusing commissioner. Collision Course provides the audience a pretty decent display of action and effects. It's clear that the budget did go towards making some things blow up. The fight scenes in the movie do tend to be a little sleepy. It's mostly just one person waiting for another person to punch him, and then he sort of just falls off screen and then falls into something that shatters or breaks. It's kind of like a slow, lumbering Chris Farley sketch. There is one scene where one of the bad guys dons a Kevlar vest and begins closing in on Costas and Fujitsuka, pinning them in a train car. This was one of the movie's best executed action sequences. The rest of the movie's action sequences are mostly slow vehicle chases, except for the final showdown between the 2 cops and the main villain, wherein Pat Morita does an amazing drop kick into a green screen, possibly kicking the man's head off his body. Overall, the movie's action is good, not great, so Collision Course gets a 7. The action in Samurai Cop is something to behold. My God, did they try. A lot of the gunfights are comically slow. The clunky nature of the gunplay is part of its charm, so as long as you can stomach gratuitous gore, then you'll enjoy these moments where characters exchange rounds of gunfire who appear to be 3 feet away. The movie also features a scene in which Joe Marshall chooses to fight the bad guy hand to hand, not unlike the scene in Lethal Weapon between Mel Gibson and Gary Busey. There's not much in the way of pyrotechnics, but there is a man who sets himself on fire for real and relied on the 2 principal actors to put him out. Pretty risky. Samurai Cop gets an 8 out of 10. The action in Theodore Rex is not good because the main character is a lumbering, giant animatronic, clumsy dinosaur. Oof! So there's no actual way for Teddy to move fast or do any kind of stunt work. And what's worse is the bad guys can't convincingly attack Teddy. I'm guessing because the animatronic suit was a little too expensive to damage. Teddy also has a brains over bullet philosophy, which works in some cases, but we could have had a movie where a T-Rex wields a machine gun. I mean, how cool would that have been? Theodore Rex gets a 3 because it sank most of its budget into terrifying animatronic suits. Well, looking at the scores, it appears we have a tie. And in the least shocking news ever, Theodore Rex loses, meaning I'm going to slam dunk it into the nearest dumpster. Be sure to check that video out. Okay, let's break this tie. Taking all things into consideration, both Samurai Cop and Collision Course were fun movies to watch. Both films are worth checking out if you're into bad cinema. But Samurai Cop really nails down that micro-budget charm. Collision Course looks like it's struggling to be the next 48 hours, whereas Samurai Cop is just doing its own thing. The director, Amir Shervin, no matter how talented he might be considered, poured his heart and soul into this movie. And while Collision Course is basically a metaphor for Japanese car companies kicking the actual head off of American car companies, Samurai Cop is different. It pays respect both to Eastern culture and to the American dream.
Now I'm telling these son of a bitches that we respect the Japanese of this country who are honest businessmen. And yeah, this is the land of opportunity for legitimate business, not for death merchants who distribute drugs to our children through schools and on the streets. Now I'm telling these motherfuckers that if they continue killing our children to make their precious millions that they deposit in their secret Swiss bank accounts, counselor, before your lawsuit even gets off the court clerk's desk, I'll have their stinking bodies in garbage bags and ship them back to Japan for fertilizer. Got it?
Samurai Cop wins. Thanks for watching Knockoff Showdown Buddy Cop Edition. These videos take a really long time to make and I have no idea what genre I'm gonna do next, so feel free to comment below with a suggestion. Or you can email me at lowercase x, uppercase x, freaknastycinemaboy69, uppercase x, lowercase x, @gmail.com. Whichever's easiest.